Привет.
Привет. Good morning, comrades, and welcome to the second and the final day of my adventure in the snowy. It's actually snowing. Finally, it didn't snow yesterday, so I couldn't show you that. Second and final day of my adventure in Russia. Well, actually, I've been here for almost half a year, but it's second day of my adventure about rally. On today's schedule, we're gonna drive the full prepped rally car, which was standing here yesterday, but not anymore. Oh wow, look at this amazing Wazik. That's like Boosted Boris's wet dream. All the guys are waiting for me already, so we should get going.
Ты вот здесь поставим и все.
А вот здесь здоровье сейчас.
Мы дальше не поедем. Возьми прямо куда-то.
We have arrived and the guys are going already to write out the route for the co-pilots. Yes, a couple of changes for today. First of all, we don't have the Lada Niva anymore, but the Audi 100, I think it's 100, correct me if I'm wrong, service vehicle for the marshals, and we are also joined by some other cars and teams today as well. But first of all, another very important difference from yesterday. Yesterday was -5, today is -15. You can see that even the cars are frozen. Of course, that will go away once they start driving, but I think that's a nice indicator of how cold it currently is. Back to the teams, we have the Subaru. Which I like to call Stevolution, because, well, the front kind of looks like the Evo or Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. Those are URT, or URT as you say it in Russia, Uspensky Rally Technica, and those guys are actually in fact the main organizers of next week's rally. So like I told you yesterday, they could have actually chosen the super stage or special stage, the stage of the rally that they're going to drive next week, but in fact they want to keep it fair, although they have the authority and the possibility to reckon the route that they are organizing themselves. But in fact they're doing it like everyone does, so I like fair play. Quick information about the car: like all the other Subarus of Kramar Motorsport, it's built according to Group N specifications, so a lot of restrictions. The tires and brakes are mostly the same, spike tires, AP, STI brakes. The interior also hydraulic handbrake, probably straight, well, most certainly straight cut gearbox. The most important difference, however, is the suspension. And I hope you can see it. Yeah, purple. Like I told you yesterday, green means Tyne or Tain, depends on the pronunciation. Purple means Reiger or Rieger. Well, it's officially Reiger from Holland, Dutch suspension, and I must say, pretty expensive one. It can cost 11,000, can cost even 20,000 euros. So I think this car is pretty damn kick-ass. And another car, which is already here, is the car that you have seen in the very first day. The more serious vehicle. Like I told you yesterday, they had the Hawkeye STI as a training vehicle, but today they're gonna use this one. The car is the same specification like the other vehicles built by Kramar Motorsport. So that means if you missed yesterday's vlog, you should check it where I go into detail about the specification of those cars. And although I initially thought that this car was the same or almost the same as all the other Kramar Motorsports cars, there is one noticeable difference, and we can see it already here in the engine bay. Two golden piggybacks, and gold or yellow stands for Ödens, and if you combine yellow and purple you get KW, straight from Germany. And if you have blue, it's Bilstein, baby blue or turquoise, it's Nitron. Black and gold is BC, orange is Kingsport. And do you know more colors of suspensions, children? Let me know in the comments. Okay, enough about cars, car parts and so on. Let's talk about more important things in life. As you know, cars and car meets and motorsports go hand in hand together with food. And today on the menu we have pancakes. Yummy. And what's better than a pancake? It's a pancake with some skimmed milk. Yummy, yummy. Yummy, yummy, yummy. And with a simple twist of the hand, I transform this pancake in a pizza or a pie. This is the best day of my life. No, seriously, what else do you need in life? Cars and good food. Yummy, yummy. The guys are back, so now let's see if they done a good job. And just to make sure that they did a good job on reckoning and writing down notes, I'm gonna go with them. Yesterday I had a black one. Let's go for a blue one today.
Спасибо.
Holy fucking shit! And even this does not describe what I just experienced. If I have to describe it like in detail, this video would get really demonetized and blocked on every single social platform available. Well, the lap with Alexander yesterday was good, but the jumps, holy fucking shit. And yeah, I'm used to some kind of jumping. Like for example, until last year, before the track changes at Nürburgring, you can jump over Flugplatz. You can still jump from Charoudin and some other sections if you have a decent car without too much downforce. But this is something completely different story. And I've been told, those are just small jumps. And in fact, yes, because if you watch some videos on YouTube, well, you see them flying tens of meters. If after watching this you are like me thinking, oh, that looks nice, I want to do that too. Well, let me run you through the most important question, which is how much does rallying cost? So first of all, of course, obviously you would need a car. So if you would have something like this, which is a slightly older model, that would cost you around 8 or 10,000 euros or more. And of course, obviously something more new would cost you, well, 30, 40, 50,000, depending on the model, depending on your country, tax, and so on and so on. So the base cost is this. Then the second base cost are the mandatory safety features, such as the cage, the fire extinguisher system, the seats, and so on and so on and so on. And those two would cost you starting from about 8 or 10,000 euros. And of course, if you want to be the fanciest kid on the block, like for example with the new car costing more than a slightly older model, that would also cost you slightly more. For example, if you want carbon fiber seats or this or that, that would cost you obviously more than 10,000 euros. And once you're done with all the safety mandatory specification, you will proceed to tuning the car, and that depends on the class that you're running, because like I explained you yesterday, every class has its own restrictions in terms of power output or modifications. So if you have a more or less standard production class, that will cost you slightly less than the top class of WRC. So for example, if you are allowed and are planning to run higher powers, that means bigger turbos. Bigger turbos means more pressure on your engine. More pressure on the engine means having a strengthened engine block, which will cost you again more and more and more and more. And after that, and I'm pretty sure everyone will agree with me, probably the most important component of your car at the rally is the suspension, and that will cost you starting from 5,000 euros. And of course you also have the base models of aftermarket suspension that cost you 2,000 euros or even less, some Chinese crap. I'm sorry China, but well, they're most definitely some high quality products, but mostly I haven't seen a single aftermarket tuning part for a car from China. But let's get back to it. So 5,000 euro for suspension, starting from and going up to 10 or even more thousands euro, and that's only for shocks. But that's not all. In the end, if you want to build a car, whether it's such a car or something like that, it will cost you in total about, well, between 50 and 100,000 euros, again depending on the type of vehicle, on the type of body that you can buy, and the type of class that you want to run. Because for example, this car is allowed to have slightly bigger turbo in its own class than for example this car. Now of course there is also a possibility to buy things second-hand. So I've been told that for example this blue car, with which you can still have shitload of fun like I had, will cost you second-hand about 30,000 euros. So depreciation is more than 50%. So something like that would cost you 40,000, and well, like that, probably more. And I've only told you about the cost to build and run a car, because apart from that, don't forget that you need to buy a helmet, hunt system, other equipment for yourself, to pay for the hotel, the travel costs, and most importantly, to have a team. To give you a small example, today and yesterday costs per car about slightly more than 5,000 euros. So yeah, for that money I could race RCN race or even more races at some local time attack championship. Now buying or building a car is just a small fraction of the cost, because the running costs are actually where it gets really scary. Let me show you a small example. This car this morning I showed you, it had Öhlins suspension. Right now it's currently sitting on green shocks maintain. This car this morning had Reiger suspension. Currently it's sitting again on a set of Tain, and the front, I think they're swapped. А вы поменяли подвеску?
No, we changed the rigger.
Yeah, you changed Tain rigger.
Yeah.
So they constantly swap the suspension. Yesterday one car had the swap of suspension because the suspension was broken. And if only the suspension, well, for example, a suspension costs you 10,000 euros, and if you fuck it up because of the jump and extended fuse, well, the running costs go higher. And of course, like with every type of racing, also the small parts that you need to replace, like for example brake pads or even tires. Those tires, for example, the spiked ones, cost starting from 300 euros a piece. So 1,200 euros for a set, and you can run about 100 kilometers with them, and 100 kilometer is a race. Together with the tires, you also need to replace brake pads and oil every single race, which is about 100 or 200 kilometers depending on the type of race and the severity of usage. And you must also remember that some bad things can happen. So you need to replace bumpers or lights or even other type of body work, or maybe even a complete car if you end up on your roof against a tree. Next, after approximately 600 kilometers, which is approximately 3 races, or should I better say stages of rally, you need to replace your brake discs, check your clutch. After 1000 kilometers, you need to check your engine, check your gearbox, which is also additional cost. Again, depending on the type of car and the parts, it will cost you slightly more or slightly less than X or Y factor. But the bottom line is, they just told me 1 year of championship in Russia costs you starting from 50,000 euros. One single stage of WRC costs you slightly more, starting from 50,000 euros. That means if you want to run the full season of WRC, which are approximately 10 stages or more, I'm sorry that I don't know it exactly, well, you need to bring something close to €500,000 with you for a year if you want to just be on a starting grid, not even be able to drive up front. They say the best things in life are for free. So at this point, I will probably stick to being a passenger for free. Or maybe buy a Lada. You can also have a lot of fun with Lada. However, a fair point must be made. A friend of mine recently told me that because of the current crisis situation in Russia, because of the currency exchange and so on, a lot of people swapped their Subarus or Evos for a Lada. And although initially it might sound that you will be cheaper because the purchase of the car and the parts are cheaper, the problem is the quality again. That, well, the engine will go fucked and the gearbox more often than with those cars. So in the end, the running costs are pretty much the same. So again, going back to my remark about suspension, why you should better buy a 10,000 euro suspension for such a heavy use than a 5,000 or let alone 2,000 euro suspension, because it will last longer and that will make sure that you can make it till the finish line, and that's definitely important with any type of racing. I want to say huge thanks to Kramar Motorsport, in particular Alexander, the owner and founder of the team, for this amazing experience. My first time in the rally car, my first motorsports event of 2017, and of course Kramar Motorsport for today's amazing and unforgettable passenger ride. Make sure to subscribe to all their social media channels that you can find in the description of the video. And yeah, goodbye, and I'm gonna make this day slightly more amazing than it already was for me. Chef, ты лучший. Well, like yesterday, after a day of hard work, I think I earned myself a little sausage. That's what she said. Well, in this case, it sounds really bad. But yeah, anyway, I hope you really enjoyed today's vlog, because I definitely did by shooting this. It was freaking amazing, the passenger ride and checking out all the cars. And the final thing that I have to say to you, make sure to watch tomorrow's vlog, because I'll be flying back to Nürburg and starting the filming and documenting the whole process of building Apex. And as always, make sure to subscribe, like and share, because a lot more cool stuff is coming. Even more cool than this sausage. Don't worry, sausage, I still love you.